there, folks. I'm here today to talk to you about an ad network called Monumetric, and also to show you some RPMs and just kind of reveal how they have improved my blog and my business and allowed me to move forward. So if you want to hear about how I had more than a 500% increase in revenue my first full month with Monumetric, stay tuned because I'm going to spill the tea. I first started blogging over 6 years ago with the intent of helping women find healthy farm-to-table recipes, to teach them gardening skills, growing their own food, and also how to stock the pantry through home food preservation. When I began, I didn't have any intent of ever monetizing my site, but as it grew over the years, I realized I actually needed some income to cover the costs of running it. So initially, all my sites were set on was just making my blog earn enough money to cover the expense of running it. I joined a few affiliate programs, and that actually did the trick. I had enough to run and manage my blog. However, I couldn't help but notice all the bloggers around me who started blogging around the same time I had, they were actually making significant money off of their blogs. I always said I was just doing it as a hobby, but when my husband and I sat down and set some life goals for ourselves, we actually realized we needed more income to accomplish those goals. We're a single income family. We live off of my husband's income. I'm a full-time homemaker and mama. And so he did his part by changing jobs to help give us that boost in income that we needed. And I knew that I could do my part by learning to monetize my site. So I spent a full year creating digital courses and ebooks and printables, trying to sell them on my site to bring up that revenue. It wasn't going so well. I was really realizing that you need money to make money with a blog. There's certain tools and equipment and programs that you kind of need to make things go over. It wasn't going fast enough. The money was coming in and my income was coming up, but I wasn't fast enough. And so for the longest time, I had held back from running ads on my site because I kind of fall into the simple living niche. And so it didn't really make sense to me. But then when I realized that a lack of finances was actually holding me back, holding my husband, my family back from us reaching our goals, I know it's time to let go of my pride, so to speak, and to monetize my site with ads. I asked around in a blogging group I was part of which ad network would be the best one for me to join with less than 50,000 views a month. Which one, first of all, is going to pay me most? And secondly, which one is going to work with me and not just take full control of my site? Because some of the smaller networks I had researched didn't seem to give you a lot of freedoms, and I didn't like that. I couldn't handle the thought of handing my beautiful website over to an ad network company who was going to give me zero say in what appeared and how often and how much. Monumetrics was the one that kept coming up with the best pay for someone with my amount of page views, and they were known for working with you and customizing things and really taking their bloggers, their publishers, into account their desires, what they wanted. So I applied, I got in, and I was floored when my first full month with them, I made over $500. Coming from making $100 a month for like a year, going to 500 felt like I was stunned. First of all, I had no idea I would make that kind of money, and it felt like a breath of fresh air. It kind of renewed my energy, you might say, for moving forward with monetizing and learning, because suddenly I had the income I needed. So my RPMs, I'm just going to run through those with you real quick so you have a little bit of an idea what to expect potentially if you join Monumetric. My first full month with Monumetric, my RPMs were, and I've got to reference them here, I made $18.45 per 1,000 sessions, or $15.62 per 1,000 page views. September and October were kind of in the same range. November went up. I was getting $20.12 per 1,000 sessions, or $16.99 per 1,000 page views. In the fall months, advertisers always pay more. So I wasn't quite sure what to expect going into the new year at that time. And I did see a bit of a drop in income, which is totally normal. So those were my peak. And my lower months, January, I was making $12.21 per 1,000 sessions, or $10.27 per 1,000 page views. So it's going to vary a lot depending on the time of month. With advertisers, I'm learning you make more at the end of the year leading up to Christmas. And then in the new year, advertisers pay less. And so your income is going to drop. But when you consider the fact that I was only making $100 a month and running ads has increased it by a minimum of 300 plus, and a maximum of 700 plus. That's some incredible revenue. And I am loving having the extra breathing room. I now have options for investing back into my site. Or if I don't want to do that, I now have options of helping save up for some of the things that my man and I want to work towards for our home and our family. So what is it like to work with Monumetric? Well, I'm just going to briefly touch on some of the pros and the cons that I experienced with them. So the first is, once my application was accepted and things were in progress, they were great at emailing back and forth and communicating. I am not a tech savvy person at all. So there was times where I needed clarity. I could just pop them an email. They would get right back to me. And they literally walked me through everything step by step, which was great because, like I said, computers and all that stuff is not something I'm actually very gifted at, in spite of the fact that I'm a blogger. So that was wonderful. The other thing, which I've already mentioned, is I loved how quick they were. If there was an ad I didn't like the placement of, or I wasn't sure about the number of ads, they were very good at working back and forth and communicating with you. Well, we might not want to remove this ad because this one's actually making you X amount, whereas this one has lower revenue for you, so we might want to pull that one. They were great going back and forth with that. Of course, another wonderful thing was the revenue. Of course, I am so happy with the amount of money coming in now. Like I've already said, I have what I need to move forward. And then last but not least, I love the fact that they wanted feedback. After I'd worked with them and set things up and things were smoothed out, the ball was rolling, they genuinely wanted my feedback on how my experience had been. The manager wrote me, I gave her my feedback, she thanked me for it. I love that. I love the fact that this network is very in tune to their publishers and that they really want to work with you and make sure you have a good experience. So that won me over. That was amazing. Some of the cons of working with Monumetric. The first one was it actually took about 8 weeks to hear back from them after I initially applied. There's things they need to do on their back end, and it just was a little bit slow in that way. The other thing was, again, I'm not technologically savvy. I try, but there's things I just don't understand. So some of the directions for setup maybe could have been a little bit clearer. I gave that feedback at the end after things were set up, and the manager said, thank you. We're going to work on that. We want it to be super clear, all our directions and the setup, so that anybody can do it. Even if you're not technologically savvy, we want it to be so simple that anybody can do it. So that was great. There's a pro and a con, I guess you could say. Overall, my experience with Monumetric has been amazing, and I have been very, very happy with my experience with them and with the revenue that I have gotten with them as a small blogger in particular, has been amazing. So questions, comments, you can leave them below. Again, don't forget I have a full blog post I will link to in the description below, where there's an entire blog post that's very detailed and will walk you through things even in more depth than I was able to do on a little YouTube video here. All right, folks, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.